I'm going to call our January 27th special meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order at 9 a.m. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're going to start. We do not have any moments of silence today. We're going to start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask Supervisor Sabatier to lead us in the pledge, please.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll go to our agenda item number 4, which is public input. We will start today in the room. If you have public comment for anything that is not on today's agenda, you can come forward to the mic and state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes. Do we have anyone in the room who wishes to make public comment? That's okay. Come forward, please, and state your name for the record.
Nicole Sullivan. Hello, my name is Nicole, and I'm an IHSS provider here in Lake. The recent sewage spill is affecting home care providers and their clients. These are hazardous conditions that we and our clients have to deal with. We have to drive around the area to meet with our clients who have health risks and are very sensitive to the contamination from the spill. I have to change my clothes and shoes before going into someone's house. I have to do a lot of extra work just to ensure the safety of people who are vulnerable to the health risks. I went to the IHSS office to get PPE and I was denied. That means I have nothing to protect myself and my clients when I come to the area. There are county employees receiving hazardous pay, but I barely get above minimum wage. There are other counties that guarantee free PPE to their IHSS providers, but we don't. This is not the way you treat essential care workers. The work we do is essential to the lives of our most vulnerable people, and the county is clearly not prepared to support us during unforeseen problems like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room for public comment? And state your name for the... Please state your name for the record, and we'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Enos Larks. I am an IHS provider. And, you know, it's a little bit hard for us, people like me. I have 3 clients. I'm away from my family all the time. I have to have 3 clients to pay my bills. You know, it should be a little bit more lenient towards us, that we could make ends meet without having so many clients. And I'm just asking that you guys look in on that and see what you can do to help us, because we're underpaid. And there are people out there that are really ailing that need help. So I'm asking you guys to look in on that and see what you can do to better the situation for us as individuals out here providing for those people. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else in the room? And please state your name for the record.
Vicki Osborne. My name is Vicki Osborne. I'm a union member and an IHSS worker. Our IHSS workers have now gone 2 years without a contract, which you guys know. You guys have given yourselves a raise, and I would like to know who authorizes you to give yourself a raise, because we didn't vote for it. This puts your pay in the line with supervisors in nearby counties are making. We like to make that kind of money. Shoot, we wouldn't be here. You clearly believe that people should get paid what they deserve. We care for nearly 3,000 people in Lake County. We may not have a big job title, but we work and we do what's important. The people who receive care are grateful for what we do. We deserve to have some security. We don't deserve to live paycheck to paycheck. And we don't deserve to be broke and barely getting by. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room? And please state your name for the record.
Roseanne Domingo. Good morning, board. Okay, so we have gone 2 years without a contract, and our elected board that sits here before us today has offered us only a few cents more an hour, and it's insulting. We've had enough. Our message to all of you has now changed. Please listen carefully and closely. We need leadership that actually understands and cares about the needs and livelihood of our community. Some of you have an upcoming election, and voters will remember who prioritized the needs and care of our seniors and that of our disabled. We will no longer, once again, we will no longer endorse weak leaders that are not willing to feel comfortable or intimidated for doing the right thing by lifting wages in our county. We are not afraid to begin the recall process of those we helped get elected. We worked hard to get you in, and we are committed to work even harder to get you out. The ball is in your court. Our boots are on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you. And please state your name for the record.
Good morning, board. My name is Luisa Costa. I'm the proud SEIU 2015 representative here in Lake County and in several other counties. It was communicated to us through your negotiator that you will not return to the table until we had a new wage proposal. Please know that we have submitted a new wage proposal, and we urge you to please review it, and we urge you to get back to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. And please state your name for the record.
Good morning, I'm Siva Gemelli. You should know my face by now. I am really disgusted that we have to do this every time we've ever had a contract in the last 36 years. We've had to do the same thing. I'm getting tired of having to come here and beg you people to do your job. We get you elected, and then what do? You look the other way when we need money. We have to have money to survive. We are the largest employer in this county. What do you think your county would be doing if we could have enough money to pay and put stuff back into our county? Where do you think we shop? We shop in our county because we don't have time to go out of county because we're working for 2 or 3 people. I'm 71 years old and I got 2 clients. Why should I have to work that hard at 71 just to stay alive? Get off your blankety blank and sign that proposal, because we are tired of having to come and ask you. We're tired of having to beg for it. It's not right. You should know better. 4 of you sitting there are there because of us, and yet we can't get you to help us. You can't support us. You can't give us a wage that we deserve. I'm tired. I'm really tired of having to come here and do this. And I'm sorry for yelling, but I've had it. I've had it with you guys. It's time you get into the proposal and give us what we ask for, because it's not unreasonable, and we know you can afford it. We don't give proposals in our union. We make sure the finances are where they are to be able to support what we put in. So the proposal is not over what you can afford. So why are you sitting on it? Sign it, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room? Please state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Casey Malone, and I'm the political organizer with SEIU 2015. I am fairly new to my position. I've been here and spoken once before, but I'm looking forward to meeting with all of you soon. In light of what's going on in this county with this sewage spill, I would imagine that you all are feeling a lot of financial pressure as board members. Understandable, it's your job and duty to take care of this community. And also, I would really love to stress today that our program, our providers are paid 50% by the federal government, 30% by the state, and 20% by the county, with a 10% matching option. Therefore, you will be supported in your decision to raise wages. By many sources, it will not just come from your general fund. In fact, it will only come from your general fund if you raise wages by 10% or more. So I would really encourage you to go back to those proposals, do your own research about where this money is coming from so that you can pay these people fairly. You know, like we've been discussing, raising the wages of these caregivers will lift the tide. And as caregivers, you know, they care for their partners, their children, their siblings, their parents, their disabled children, aging family members. By lifting their wages, you support the entire community. If there are, say, like 2,000 caregivers in Lake County, which I believe is roughly accurate, if they each have maybe 2 dependents, that's 6,000 people. If they have more than 2 dependents, it just keeps going up. That doesn't even count their recipients most of the time if they're working in multiple households. So you have the opportunity to make a real difference almost instantaneously in your county's economy. And I can't imagine why you wouldn't decide to make that choice, especially during an election year, where we would love to support the candidates who stand with us in this contract. Thank you. And please respond to my phone calls. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room? Please state your name for the record.
My name is Mary Hudson Donahue. I'm an IHSS worker, a CIU local member. Here to say that I know that we are a poor county, Lake County, and I know that there are not a whole lot of facilities for those who are ill, especially our seniors, our disabled. They don't have a lot of places they can go here in this county. There's not a lot of institutional places for these folks, the disabled, and our care really matters to people. We help these people stay in their homes, which means a lot of, we all know how hard it is to get housing, okay? And these people are poor, we're poor. Nobody's helping me stay in my home, but we have a lot to do. Many of us carry more than one client, and we could really use better wages. I'd appreciate if you all would just consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? And we're going to move to online, or do we have somebody? Please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Vice Chair, members of the board. Tom Lasik. Passing a piece of paper out because I think it'd be easier to see it when I try to explain this. This is in response to something that Supervisor Sabatier mentioned a couple weeks ago about the CDD finances and that issue and how did you miss it? You know, what could I have done better? I'm certainly paraphrasing what he said. This is how we knew there was an issue a long time ago. And this is just sort of help as you go forward as a board to maybe have better financial scrutiny of what's going on, because I know that this is a big budget. The first table is just, these are all from the past. This is the CDD expenses. It's not the CDD expenses, it's just the net cost line item. All of the departments have a net cost line item. And if the department is supposed to be self-funding and the net cost is positive, that should raise a red flag because it's saying they're spending more than they're bringing in. And it deserves a level of scrutiny that's more than just a a cavalier response from a staff member or department head. It deserves a line item and a dollar amount. A line item and dollar amount that adds up to whatever is in the budget. And as you can see, you adopted for this department, for all of those categories, a budget that was already spending more than it was bringing in. The second table is the Cannabis Reserve Fund. And now it doesn't have to be cannabis, it can be any reserve fund because they all seem to have the same issue. And that is, while the numbers tick and tie for the year, the report doesn't explain how the numbers change from year to year. It should work just like your bank account. You have an ending balance and a starting balance. The ending balance from one year should be the starting balance of the next year. And there should be an explanation of how, for example, the number dropped from 20 million to 17 million to 11 million. And that information doesn't usually present itself. I could not find anywhere in any of the budgets from the previous years a clear explanation of the finances. I think the reports may be doing you a disservice, and it might be something you should check into because the numbers are changing and there is no explanation for it. The third table is a summary of the various presentations that have been given to explain the cannabis reserve. And again, it doesn't have to be cannabis, it doesn't have to be reserve. All your departments provide wonderful slides that depict or try to explain additional information. The thing is that none of these numbers match your reports. They don't match any of your finances. Not the starting number, not the ending number, not the numbers in between. There's no record anywhere in your reports that are presented to you during budget time that accounts for these numbers.
Okay, we'll have to wrap up.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, and
thank you.
with that-
We need to wrap up. Do we have anyone else in the room? Okay, we'll move to online. Carolyn, do we have anyone?
Yes, we have Rhiannon Felipe.
Rhiannon Felipe, we're going to unmute you, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Rhiannon Philippi on behalf of Senator McGuire today. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. My name is Rhiannon Philippi. I am here today on behalf of Senator Mike McGuire to respectfully urge you to invest in the well-being of the community by supporting IHSS caregivers, IHSS workers in Lake County. Yet, nearly 10% of authorized care hours went unfulfilled last year, meaning people aren't receiving the care they qualify for. Lake County's IHSS workforce remains among the lowest paid workers in the county. As a result, 86% of the county's caregivers work multiple jobs, and over half struggle with food insecurity, housing costs, and delayed medical care. These conditions make it harder to retain caregivers, worsening the care shortage. Obviously, we understand the significant issues and financial pressures facing the board right now. The good news is that Lake County can use the $1.10 state participation and the 10% match option to raise IHSS wages so that the county can raise wages for IHSS workers while more than 80% of the cost is covered by state and federal matching funds. IHSS workers are vital links for our disabled and senior neighbors, especially in rural areas. They provide essential services and companionship to the most vulnerable members in the community. We respectfully encourage you to continue the negotiations and come to an agreement quickly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Carolyn, do we have anyone else online?
Yes, iPhone 15.
iPhone 15, we're unmuting you. Please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Sky Lewa, Pillsbury Family Farms. And as you've heard public comment and move through today's meeting, I ask that you take a moment to reflect on the county as a whole. Every part of this county functions differently, and every workspace carries its own culture, challenges, and strength. We've heard from people who feel supported and grounded in the work they do. We've also heard from people who are still searching for clarity, stability, and direction. Both of the charts, it runs on people who show up every day to do the work, often behind the scenes, often under pressure, and without recognition. Those are the voices that are worth listening to very closely because they are living the systems as they exist today. This is a good time to take an honest look at how the county is functioning overall, to ask whether your systems are allowing growth, learning, and forward movement, or whether they are holding us in place. Change is a natural part of life, And as a Native American, in our ways, nothing is never meant to stay the same forever. Growth requires reflection, and reflection requires honesty. If you want a county that moves forward in a good way, you must be willing to listen deeply, learn from what you hear, and make space for improvement where it is needed. We all share the same responsibility in shaping the future of this county. And I ask that we move forward with care, accountability, and respect for the people who carry the work every day. Muleha.
Thank you. Carolyn, do we have anyone else online? We do not. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment, and we're going to move on to our What was that? Background. We're going to move on to our 5.1 item, which is consideration of a letter of support for advocacy to protect mobile crisis as a statewide Medi-Cal benefit. We'll ask our Behavioral Health Director, Elise Jones, to come up and present.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Board, and thank you for allowing this item to be presented on relatively short notice. The California budget is being shaped as we speak, and the dollars and cents are being added up by our legislature. And one of the proposals on the table is to reduce the share of cost that the state currently supports for the mobile crisis benefit, effectively shifting across counties probably over $200 million back of worth of burden back onto counties. For Lake County, we're still undetermined about the extent of the impact, but we are aware that should that come to pass, it would be a budget challenge that would have to be solved for, likely by a reduction in services. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll bring it to the board if we have any questions or comments at this point in the Supervisor Pyska, go ahead.
This is something that we really need to support. I don't have in District 5, there's no peer support center. My residents in my district rely solely on the mobile crisis outreach.
And I wanted, thank you for that. I would just add to that that in addition to no peer center in District 5, I don't believe we have one in District 1 either, nor do we have any behavioral health offices or facilities in those two districts of the county where the other three districts do have peer centers and or offices of behavioral health. So we've got a large chunk of our county that doesn't have readily available access to behavioral health services as we do in some other districts. So those are my concerns at this point. Anything else from board members? No? We'll go ahead and open it up to the public. If there's any comments from the public, I'll start online first. We have no one online. Do we have anyone in the room? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for any further discussion or ready for action if we're ready.
Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize the chair to sign a letter in support of protecting mobile crisis as a statewide Medi-Cal benefit and opposing the proposed budget change that would shift the non-federal share to the benefit of the benefit to the counties.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Director Jones. And with that, we're going to move on to our item number 6, which is our Board of Supervisors Governance Workshop. It's got many parts to this, but this is one item that we're going to go through today. And we will not be taking public comment until we reach the end of the item. So I would suggest folks, if they have questions early on, maybe make note of those and be ready when public comment opens up. And we're going to start this governance workshop with hearing from our Chief Deputy County Administrative Officer Matthew Rothstein. Go ahead, Matthew.
Good morning, Supervisors. Matthew Rothstein, Chief Deputy County Administrative Officer. As you are all aware, in January 2018, the county hosted a series of 5 community visioning forums to gather the public's priorities. One forum was held in each supervisorial district. That public process culminated with the Board of Supervisors' adoption of 10 key priorities for the next 10 years, the county's Vision 2028 statement. And those priorities are consider and promote the well-being and economic resilience of every Lake County resident, maintain a transparent county government that is responsive, efficient, effective, and fair, continue rebuilding and all efforts to recover from our recent disasters, enhance public safety, protect our residents and serve them well, develop and maintain a high standard of disaster prevention, preparedness, and recovery in collaboration with all community partners, grow our economy and spur creation of quality local jobs through focused economic development, clean up our neighborhoods through code enforcement, foster a business-friendly environment, pursue funding to strengthen communities, market Lake County as a premier California outdoor recreation destination, advocate for Lake County's needs through targeted political action, and improve our infrastructure encompassing roads and transportation, water and sanitation, internet access for all. Support the county workforce through targeted training, retention, and recruitment initiatives. Collaborate with tribes, cities, and community groups to maximize opportunities. Care for our county's defining feature, Clear Lake. And finally, invest in Lake County's richest resource, our people. Provide pathways for our youth leading to bright futures living in Lake County. Encourage volunteerism, service, and action toward the common good. And recognize the wisdom and experience of Lake County senior citizens and serve them well. Board members past and present, county department heads and staff have worked hard to implement this vision. And the County Administrative Office, if you can please go to the next slide, Carolyn, has likewise developed a draft strategic plan for 2026 to 2028, which will be revised in consideration of today's discussion from department heads and your board, presented to county department heads in February, and brought back to your boards very soon thereafter. So that concludes this statement. It's always important that we reground to what the community's priorities are and what has been communicated through that previous public process. We're cognizant that we're coming to the end of that term. The strategic plan presented soon will build on those priorities. And I just really appreciate your board's continued appreciation of public needs and intent to support them with everything we've got. So that's our restatement of our Vision 2028 priorities, and with your board's permission, we'll move on to our legislative priorities.
Do we have any questions on the initial statement? No, seeing none, go ahead and move on.
So next we will turn to our 2026 County of Lake legislative priorities. And we have 2 slides that depict those in list form. You'll additionally be aware that there were documents included with your agenda packet that had a little bit more detail. So the substance of what we're looking for your board's direction on today is your concurrence with the legislative priorities as attached to your board's agenda in those full form statements. And we're looking forward to your discussion as well. We are very pleased that agreements with Nielsen Merksimer and Paragon Government Relations provide for Lake County to have a presence in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. We're grateful for the support of those individuals that contributed to the draft state and federal legislative priorities, which included both representatives from those firms and county department heads. Neither of the lists in your packet is exhaustive of every possible priority, and our advocates from both firms continue to indicate that it's generally desirable for these priority statements to be relatively broad, allowing action within those categories of emphasis to be quickly taken as needed. Additionally, we are fortunate that we have experienced administrators in key seats of county leadership prepared to help us face the considerable lift that priorities like preserving and pursuing funding for health and social services programs and seeking to revitalize our infrastructure represent. We're also very fortunate to have experienced legislators like the Honorable Assembly Majority Leader Cecilia Aguiar Curry, Senator Mike McGuire and Congressman Mike Thompson, and our federal senators as well that are prepared to fight for Lake County. So this is truly a moment of opportunity, and your board's leadership and the collaboration of staff and our advocates can make a real difference for the communities that we serve. The priorities are here before your board today. We look forward to your robust discussion, and I wanted to make you aware that there are representatives of both Nielsen Merksimer and Paragon in Zoom that are available to help respond to your questions. Thank you, and we invite your discussion.
We'll bring it to the board, and we're going to go ahead and start with Supervisor Pyska.
So I just want to, the letter that we have has a little bit more detail of what they are, and it looks like it might be a little bit more updated too, because there are some things in the letter that aren't necessarily referred to here. Do you want to go over those? Do you want to go over the letter?
So we don't have the letter prepared to project. It was attached to the agenda packet.
Right.
But I can say that one area in which there's some additional detail, for example, in the Health and Human Services category, we had really robust collaboration with the Health and the Health Lake County Health Services, Behavioral Health, and Social Services toward the statement that's before you today. And that notes that we are going to be preserving and pursuing funding for health and social services programs, for example, particularly in light of H.R. 1 making sweeping changes to Medi-Cal and SNAP by reducing benefits, eliminating eligibility for some populations, shifting costs to states and counties, and increasing county administrative responsibilities. And we're committing to working with state-level associations, which will be particularly critical this year, and supporting proposals that ease administrative burden on counties. And a particular import this year are ensuring that statistically sound and equitable cost-sharing methodologies for CalFresh administrative funding, streamlining and aligning CalFresh work requirements and reporting, and promoting state-level solutions for in-home supportive services provider pay, for example. Ensuring that healthcare workforce pathways are flexible and hospitals and essential health services are stabilized is likewise crucial to meeting healthcare needs in rural Lake County, and ensuring public health capacity is preserved and increased where possible. And we just heard, for example, from our behavioral health staff how critical something like mobile crisis services can be, not only for our ability to provide mental and behavioral health services in Lake County, but also to ensure that we don't have an inappropriate number of contacts with law enforcement and system involvement that could be avoided as a result of appropriate care.
Anything further, Supervisor?
Well, I just want to add that the reason we adopt these each year is so that we can have a unified priorities from the board, so individually we can advocate in the areas that we do, and we do that both at the state and federal level along with our lobbyists. And so I just wanted to make sure that this board knows that I'm continuing to work on the updates to FEMA. That is still the task of the disaster task force that I'm on with NACO for the next 6 months. We're going to continue to work on that. And then along the lines of energy, environment, and land use, the EPA Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Fund is something that we need to, make sure that we have current levels of funding maintained at minimum, but we really need to look at increasing the rates. And for counties, we have a lot of aging infrastructure, and I think we know a lot about that right now. So that's something that I'm going to continue to. So I just want to make sure that those were in line with the board's adopted priorities, and that the board understood that those were two avenues that I've been working through NACO to advocate for.
Okay, I want to bring up a question to the board related to the legislative priorities. As I'm reading through this, I believe, such as the item we had before where behavioral health presented a letter for us to sign to the state, would that situation really already fits in here. That's the way I'm understanding it. And a couple weeks ago, we had another situation where we had probation bring a letter that I also believe the situation going on with that could already fit into our legislative priorities under public safety. So what question I want to bring to the board is, you know, we have situations that come up all the time where we have a tight timeline to get a letter sent for advocacy, but we have a practice of having to bring those items to the board every time, and it's oftentimes a challenge to get them on a board agenda. So wondering what the board feels about changing our practice to be able to send these letters if it fits in an already stated board-approved legislative priority. Can we send letters without having to bring an item back to the board? So that's what I would like feedback from my colleagues on how they feel about that. I can think of 3 examples right now where it's been a challenge for these situations. So I wanted to discuss that a little bit. And Supervisor Sabatier, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been in too many situations where I've seen things after the fact, and I'm not always enamored by the language used or the details, because details matter in what's written in these letters. 2 of us can sign on to any letter that we want to. We have that power that's given to us through our policies and procedures to submit letters in support of department heads who are asking for these things. There's always the possibility of extra items, as we've done, but I think if we are looking for a full board, sure, I think this just says we can speak to these things and we can support these things without coming back to the board. But if there's a letter that's going to have the signature with the power of the entire board behind it, I just think we need to be very wary about just allowing free will to use all of our names and saying that this is the support that we have, because I think details matters. If it does move forward, I would say we need to know what those letters are. I just found a letter that was written on my letterhead that I was not aware was written on my letterhead, but signed by somebody. So that was concerning to me. So I just want to make sure that we don't get ourselves in a situation where we don't know what we're sending out as the Board of Supervisors. And I also think that details matter. If we're on top of it, usually things don't happen overnight in the state or the federal government. There should be enough time. We always talk about how slow things move. There are those opportunities sometimes where things happen to move faster, but I think typically we're able to do something about it, and I don't think it's a waste of time to let the people know what we're saying we support or don't support, and I think it matters to us that if we say yes to something, that those are going to be our words that we say yes to, that we know exactly what's being sent out. So that's just me.
And I certainly understand those concerns. As you stated, I do think there's a way that, you know, if something like this did move forward, that we would be able to keep all the board members informed immediately on what was going out, which oftentimes, you know, we advise the public of that anyway. So I just think it creates, by not having the ability to do it, it's more bureaucracy that we have to go through to quickly get something out. So that's why I brought it up. Supervisor Owen?
Yeah, I do kind of concur with what Bruno had messaged, and the big reason why, I mean, we could do if we were in other boards that I've sat on that are not bound by Brown Act, we would do a phone survey of what was appropriate. But the big issue here, I think, is letting the public know what we're doing and the transparency. So that's why I would have I really think it needs to come back here to all of us if all of our names are on it. And that's primarily for the transparency reasons.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have to agree to an extent. I know that a year and a half back or so, we had a situation where there was a letter that went out. I know I made one as well. And the public and media had misconstrued it with a full statement from the board, which wasn't true. But a lot of times these groups like to use optics, and it puts us in a bind. I know it's a bureaucracy that is unfortunate, but I have to say that I'd rather err on the side of caution than to put something out, that could be implicated as the full board, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I know it's unfortunate that we have to get something to the board and we have to discuss it, but we have to also make sure that the public has a chance to state their case if we're doing a letter. So I'd have to state, I have to agree with that, so.
All right, well, I appreciate the discussion, and did you have further, Supervisor?
It was to continue on the conversation of the lobby focus and whatnot.
I think we've concluded that question, so
Yeah.
we can.
So I just, I'm looking at all the topics, and some of them, all the topics are great. There's nothing on here that's not good. But I kind of wish there was, who's working on that here, and who here is working with our lobbyist firm to try and gain a benefit to what they're attempting to get accomplished. And I don't see that connection here. So are we asking them to pay attention to something that maybe we didn't work on at all year? And so I feel like our strategic plan is what's the missing component here. Like, what is the goal this year, and how is it being connected to what we're asking our lobbyists to do? But I also feel, and I don't think it's ever going to disappear, but a lot of it is very defensive and very reactionary stuff that's on here. The one that I appreciate is the infrastructure investment stuff. All of that is not necessarily reactionary, but more of trying to maintain the infrastructure that we have. I don't see much in economic development specific here, because I think what this county needs more than anything else is economic mobility. Who's working on opportunity zones right now? I don't see opportunity zones on here, but yet there's an opportunity zone 2.0 that has occurred, and it wasn't there before when there was the previous opportunity. Well, we didn't have really a lobbyist at that point in time. But I want to know what here is reactionary to what's happening within legislature and Congress, and what is proactive to make the changes that we want to see, so that we create a better platform where these things that I'm reading are less on our backs and more we've been providing the tools to the community to be able to cope with these things and deal with these things in a better way. If we don't have economic development, then it's going to continue to be on our backs, and I don't think that's a sustainable program. So I'd love to see what our strategic plan looks like. And I'd love to see a more proactive approach on how we plan to move Lake County in a position where the people are less reliant on us to solve their problems because they have the economic viability to do so or the resources to do so on their own. And I'm not seeing that in here, and I would love to see that change. But again, if something is on here and we're not working on it, then I don't think we should have it on our list. And so I'd love to see what department and I get a better understanding of how often have we worked on this specifically over the past year.
Well, I definitely appreciate your feedback, and we can come back with more that I can say to 2 points. In terms of economic development in Lake County, energy projects are one area of opportunity. I know we've had multiple discussions with our board on that topic. And Ben Rickelman, our deputy CAO that's focused on economic development, is working on the opportunity zones topic specifically. These priority statements do tend to be a little bit broader, a little bit more conceptual, but I just wanted to, and that has been our past practice, but I do want to just let you know, I hear your feedback and your need for us to make sure that that connects to the priorities that are in the strategic plan, and that we have a sense of what we're doing proactively going forward.
And I would just add to that, and this is something I'll be asking at the end of our meeting today, but I'd love to get some kind of, I don't know, every 3 months, every 6 months report. What have we done to pursue these things? And it's also really hard. I mean, just kind of going back to the letters, appreciate the letter coming from behavioral health today, and yes, absolutely, I've seen the benefits of having our mobile crisis units. But I also don't understand what I'm saying yes to when it comes to the state. What am I taking away if that is going to be supported? Because there's only a finite pie of money that is available, and so I'm saying please support this, but am I going to say, oops, I lost this other thing that I really don't want to lose? And so it gets really complicated in what we're asked to support and not support, and sometimes I don't know that I have all the information in front of me.
Thank you. Any further comments from supervisors at this point? Not seeing any. Matthew, do you have anything further?
I don't have any further comments unless your board has any additional questions. I just want to remind, since they're not here in the room, that representatives from both Paragon and Nielsen Merksem are on if you have questions of them specifically.
I don't have any further questions. I appreciate them being here and being available and the work that they're doing for us. It looks like Supervisor Pyska has a comment.
Do they have any updates for us?
So check in on that.
I know we have Jeff Neal. Did you want to provide any brief updates on state legislative priorities? Or I know we were going to be scheduling a time for you to come to the board in early March as well. So we could wait until that time for a more robust update if it pleases the board.
Yeah, if there's anything critical that he wants to say now, that's fine.
Okay. Well, we could give an opportunity for any critical updates from each. So Jeff Neal, on behalf of Nielsen Merksem, are there any immediate and critical updates at the state level?
Nothing too substantive. We're still pretty early in the state legislative year, and so legislators are introducing their bills. They have a bill introduction deadline of February 20th, which is why we've scheduled our update for early March so that we can see all the bills that are introduced and present to you on the ones that we believe are most critical for you based on the priorities that you're discussing today. Obviously, the governor's budget proposals came out, and while there were not a lot of substantive major proposals, and that there were a few that affect counties, as you heard on your previous item this morning. And so we will be working, if you approve the priorities as presented and as discussed, we'll be working to react to the federal changes proactively with the state to make sure that, for example, those health and human service changes are implemented in a way that benefits the county as much as possible.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here today.
Yeah. And Rachel Mackey or Tom from Paragon, do you have any urgent federal updates?
Hi, all. Good morning. Rachel Mackey here. I think just the main thing to flag, and you've probably read about this already, is that while it had appeared that Congress was set to pass and then have the president sign a spending package that would take care of the remaining bills funding the discretionary portion of the government, the incident in Minneapolis this weekend has kind of thrown a wrench in that. Democrats in the Senate are now signaling that they won't vote in favor of that package because it includes money for immigration and customs enforcement in the Department of Homeland Security spending bill. Because of the timing of when Congress is in session and where we are in the process, we're looking at most likely a partial government shutdown that could extend into next week, unless Congress is able to figure out a way to quickly strip that controversial bill out and get the rest of those agencies funded. So that will impact agencies like the Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Labor, the EPA, and others. So just flagging that, that is likely coming this weekend.
Thank
the
you.
only thing to add, this is Tom Joseph with Paragon. The House is not in session this week. So even if the Senate decides not to move or decides to strip Homeland Security, the House is not prepared to respond until next week. We don't see a 43-day shutdown as we saw earlier, but there may be a glitch in funding in the short term.
Thank you. Yes, Matthew.
So as we close this item, my recommendation is that your board agree by consensus. The priorities documents are a living document. We have the date updated at the bottom of the form for a reason. So I'm hoping that your board may be open to, by consensus, adopting the version that we have today, or making minor modifications that we can come to consensus on, so that the efforts that our advocates are undertaking can begin in response to these priorities, and then also get your board's direction in terms of next steps a little bit more clearly if possible.
Thank you. Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, I don't mind approving what's in front of us, but I do want to see if there's consensus to bring something back. I think Ben Rickelman and the work that he's working on from the economic development perspective needs to be in this, and I'd love to see that come back with an addition. I just wanted to bring up, and I don't know, I don't have my glasses on right now, but if Mr. Sullivan is either in the room or online, there have been some concerning changes to property taxes, which kind of put us in a bind to the point that in the very near future, it may be completely impossible to deal with tax defaulted properties. And that is very concerning to me. We've had some discussions about low value ordinance and other things like that, where we're literally about to get the tools completely yanked from out of our hands in dealing with some of these things. And so if it's possible to have a discussion with Mr. Sullivan on how our lobbyists can help track what may or may not be happening bill-wise in Congress and bill-wise within the state, but there's some grave concerns about where things are going due to some people misbehaving in the way that they're utilizing these tools, unfortunately. And I've had those conversations with him, and so that's why I bring it up, because, again, it would be helpful to have a resource that pays attention to those things.
So do we have consensus to approve that as a living document and include the comments made by Supervisor Sabatier?
Or bring it back with
specific
amendments, because I don't have those amendments for you.
So it looks like we have that consensus.
Thank you.
Okay, does that conclude the legislative priorities portion?
It does, and just want to say thank you to your board for your engagement. I think the discussion was very high quality today. Look forward to next steps.
Thank you. And we're going to move on to our fiscal report, and we'll invite our Deputy CAO, Casey Moreno, up to present that.
Good morning. Casey Moreno, Deputy County Administrative Officer. So starting with the secured property taxes, they are so far at about where they were in 23-24, but we do plan on having the remainder brought in the last half of the fiscal year. Next slide, sorry. For sales tax, Bradley Burns is a 1% sales tax, and Prop 172 is a 0.5% sales tax. It is a little lower than we were anticipating so far, but this is only through December. So we do have January, usually posts around the end of the month, so any time now, and then through the end of the fiscal year. Next slide, sorry. Cannabis cultivation and business tax. So the last couple fiscal years have been, what we've brought in is about what we have spent. So that's been very good. We do have, or we had at the end of last fiscal year, about 13 million. This fiscal year, we did move 4 million to the budget stabilization reserve. So it is lower than what is showing right there. Next slide. So here is where all the cannabis cultivation and business taxes are currently allocated. So we have various allocations for sheriff, water resources, community development, economic development and housing, library. And then for programs, we have COPTER, the BOS discretionary funds, child support, treasurer tax collector, and then we do have still unallocated 30-30-30-10, which I'll go into on the next slide what that is. Stabilization reserve has been moved, so that's missing, and then the workforce retention and development is sitting at about 1 million. Next slide. So the 30-30-30-10 is 30% for planning, code enforcement, water resources, and environmental health. Currently, just about all of it, all but $4,000 is allocated. Law enforcement is the next 30% bucket. Most of that is allocated with about $400,000 remaining to be budgeted. Most of that will be budgeted for future years. Same with economic development, housing, and risk reduction is the last 30% bucket, with just over $2 million allocated this fiscal year, with almost $500,000 remaining. And then youth programs is the 10%. Most of that is allocated, and that goes to the library. Next slide. So ARPA, the state and local recovery funds, the American Rescue Plan Act, we have until December 31st of 2026, the end of this calendar year, to claim everything, and we are on track for that. We only have about $1.4 million remaining to be claimed, and this is through December 31st, so we do have a claiming due at the end of this month, so that is not included. Next slide. So here are the projects for the 10 million standard allowance. Most have been completed, and by completed, it's just the funding has been fully claimed through ARPA. It's not an armory remodel, that's not complete yet, but the funding from ARPA has been fully claimed. There are a few projects that are still remaining to be either started, or one project that has not been started or at least not claimed, and then a few projects that are still ongoing. Next slide. So the non-standard allowance, so this was over the over the 10 million, it was just about 2 million. And so we have two projects that are still ongoing, Kelseyville Seniors Inc., remodel of the senior center, and the special district studies. So for reserves, we have the general reserve, which is sitting at 16 million. General Parks Reserve is at 2.6 million. The General Building and Infrastructure Reserve is at just over 8.4 million, almost 8.5. The Technology Modernization Reserve is at 3 million. Budget Stabilization Reserve, which is where that 4 million from cannabis went, is at just over 7 million. And the General Designated Reserves is at 3 million. And then for the Housing Trust Fund is at 2.2 million. Next slide. So a little more into Reserve 157, which is, right now, the funds that are in there is the Assistance in Tribal Consistency Fund, LATCF. And so that is, has been unspent. That was one-time money that is put in there. It can be used for any governmental purpose. Next slide. And then potential impacts for future budgets. So we have the MOU increases, the cannabis tax adjustments, the House Resolution 1 or HR 1 impacts. There's always a possible upcoming recession, housing market volatility, spending trends of the population are up and down as they go, and then the annual net county cost contribution.
Does that conclude?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to the board for any questions. Not seeing any at this point.
Oh, I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, on the special districts on page 23, we have, what was that designated for?
So they have three separate allocations, and so there is some different studies, water testing, I believe, studies. There's tertiary treatment plant study, and one other that I can't think of, dump site?
The dump truck, the waste haulers.
Yes.
Okay. And so are we on track on that?
Yes.
Or, okay. For the designated monies?
Yes.
Anything further?
No, I think the rest of it is good.
Septic haulers probably is the better term.
Thank you.
Not seeing anything further. Thank you for the presentation. And with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to now start our department head presentations portion of the meeting. Yes. 5 minutes? We're going to be on a 5-minute break until 10:05. And we are going to move on to department heads' presentations, as I was stating before the break, and we're going to start with the Administration and Human Resources Department. Turn it over to the CAO.
Thank you, Chair. So good morning, Board and audience. Thank you for this opportunity to highlight our efforts. It is with great pride that I present these highlights related to our 2025 accomplishments, our 2026 points of emphasis, data points and metrics, and staff is available here to answer any project or program questions you may have. And again, I'm not going to read the slides. I'm just going to pick up and highlight some of those more remarkable items that we've done. So to begin with, we led and coordinated the board adoption of the Lake County Housing Action and Implementation Plan. We're very proud of that effort, and it continues. We did advance the countywide housing strategy efforts, including support of the Pallison Place. And we continued implementation of the Regional Housing Trust Fund. It's still in the works of developing the bylaws and moving forward in selecting or prioritizing projects. We have continued the leadership and coordination on climate resiliency initiatives. We have supported the countywide evacuation planning and emergency preparedness. And we continue the multi-year state and federal advocacy efforts as presented here earlier in this presentation. We will continue to support the board's realization of the Vision 2028 priorities, and we will finalize the strategic plan after we meet with the department heads in February. We will leverage any state and federal funding opportunities to expand broadband access in Lake County, fulfilling the broadband implementation plan. And we will continue to support supervisors and water resources staff in advancing the Middle Creek flood damage and ecosystem restoration project. We don't have a lot of metrics, but the two that I'd like to highlight is as far as website views. We went from 24,700 views to 1.2 million in the last year. The second is content interactions. And the year before it was 6.9 thousand interactions, and it's now at 15.2. So we have been increasing our presence both on the web page and in the community. And the next person up is Sam. Samick. I said Sam. I was thinking Sam. Thank you.
I have one question on that.
Supervisor Owen has a question.
On the 2025 data metrics, it had showed that 59.9 thousand were 3-second views. So is that I'm just worried that it might be showing a level of frustration since they obviously didn't get any work done.
I can't speak. I can't speculate on
Okay. I have just heard some people mentioning frustration with it, so I wanted to bring that up.
Trevor, do you have a comment? Sorry, Chair.
Trevor Mokel, Administrative Analyst and also the manager of the county's social media page. So essentially what that is someone scrolling past it, looking at it, and then scrolling on to the next whatever thing is in their feed. So it's just a good measure of how many people are putting eyes on the content and then moving on to the next thing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. No other questions. We'll turn it over to Pam Samick.
Good morning, Pam Samick, Director of Human Resources. I'm just going to highlight a few of our accomplishments. HR is fully staffed with 8 amazing full-time employees. We completed this year a salary study and helped with negotiations. We also implemented a new benefits platform, launched NeoGov recruiting platform, completed phase 1 of the Workday HRIS system. We did 295 recruitments, resulting in 150 full-time hires with 61 extra help. We improved the vacancy rates to 18%, first time in 6 years. Next page. Actually, next page. Lastly, what we're going to be working on in the future, sorry, next page, I jumped, is the Workday implementation, which will require substantial effort on our team and will last over the next year and a half to implement all phases. Any questions?
Thank you, Pam. Do we have any questions from board members? Not seeing any. CAO, does that conclude that?
That does conclude, and again, we do have staff here should there be any program or project questions.
Okay. And not seeing any questions from board at this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to move on, and I'm going to ask our Agricultural Commissioner, Catherine Vanderwall, to come up and present.
Good, that screen's pretty big. Good morning, Board. Catherine Vanderwall, Agricultural Commissioner and Sealer of Weights and Measures. Before we get started this morning, I just want to, bring to the attention to your board that the Agriculture and Weights and Measures Department is regulatory in nature, so a lot of the programs that we do are mandated through the state. Some of our 2025 accomplishments: we hosted a cannabis cultivators outreach event. Some of you, I believe, attended. That event was well received, and we are planning on doing that again in 2026. We also purchased and installed a water meter test bench with a closed system. So this allows us to efficiently test water meters that are commonly seen in apartment buildings and mobile home parks using a closed system, so we're recycling the water. We also held a pesticide container recycling event. So this is a collection of clean, empty plastic pesticide containers. So a company comes and chips them and recycles them, keeps them out of our landfills. We've hosted we hosted continuing education classes for pesticide applicators for their necessary continuing education units to renew their licenses. We also prepared and presented the 2024 Crop and Livestock Report, as well as updated the Crop Report Plus, which was the Agricultural Economic Report. And additionally, we prepared and presented the 2025 Weights and Measures Report. Some additional accomplishments: continued support of the Fish and Wildlife and Ag Advisory Committees. Staff participated in various outreach events throughout the year, including the Ag and Natural Resources Day at the Fairgrounds and the 2025 Invasive Weed Tour. Our department had met all state mandated program requirements for 2025, and we were fully staffed for 2025. Next slide. Some of our metrics measured, again, some of these are dictated by the work that is mandated to us by the state. Others, factors can vary these numbers, such as phytosanitary certificates. This is the federal paperwork that accompanies a shipment that's being sent out of country. So that number actually decreased, just depends on commodity markets at the time. So we have no control over that number, as well as the pest traps that were deployed and maintained. We did have a contract that was eliminated, so that's a funding issue from the state. So that decreased the numbers of traps that we had out. You can see some of the other numbers have increased. The pesticide safety inspections, so that's staff out in the field, boots on the ground, looking at people doing pesticide applications, field worker inspections, making sure everybody's safe. Our terminal parcel package inspections, that's staff going over to the UPS facility every morning. So that number is the actual number of packages that were scanned and pulled for inspection. The nursery and other plant shipment inspections, that's the 306 is the number of locations that were visited. Could have been 5 plants that they were looking at, there could have been 1,000 plants. Okay, next slide. So 2026, continued programmatic work to make sure we're meeting our state mandates. We did just recently get the truck prover installed. So this is to increase efficiency for testing gas stations. And I would like to thank the guys down at Central Garage for helping us get that installed. Our next step is, next week we are taking it to the State Division of Measurement Standards to have the equipment certified so we can be able to actually start using that. continue to support Fish and Wildlife and Ag Advisory Committees, and continue to support the Lake County Weed Management Area. Metrics that we're going to measure in 2026 are going to be similar to what we measure in 2025. I believe that that's it. Does your board have any questions?
Board members, any questions? Not seeing any at this point. Thank you for the presentation.
Great. Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. And next, I'm going to move on to our Air Quality Management District with Director Gearhart to present.
Good morning, Board. Doug Gerhard, I'm the Air Pollution Control Officer with the Lake County Air Quality Management District. And I wish my name, the name was shorter, but it is what it is.
Sorry, I got that wrong.
Yep. No problem. So the Air District, as you know, we are also nearly completely a regulatory agency. So, we are mandated by state and federal law, Clean Air Act, Health and Safety Code, and then local rules and regulations. So our duties are mandated. Probably 95% of what we do is mandated under law. So it's a little challenging to make these things and come up with some of these metrics, as it is, there are legal issues. So, but what we've done this year, we've been short-staffed, but through that, we've done major upgrades to the online burn permit system. We have more to come, but at the moment, every year we are improving it and trying to make it better so that's easier for the public to use. 2025, we met all of our clean air standards, so we should still be in attainment. Data just has to be submitted and processed by EPA and CARB to get that verification. So we brought forward and completed revisions to the district's fee rule. We held public meetings, and the board has adopted this rule with implementation and being in process at the moment. That was a significant workload for the district, especially during our staffing times. We are working on the GAMP MOU. This has been in the works for more than 6 months, 9 months now that we've been working on this with Northern Sonoma and industry members and the public. And hopefully we'll have something coming to the board in February, at least for the transition, to start the transition process, as Northern Sonoma is no longer going to be operating as the contract manager for GAMP. So we have a transition period, and then we'll work out the details on the MOU once we have those things figured out. So, but progress is being made on the MOU, and it's moving forward. So then in 2025, we've issued over 638 permit renewals. We had two staff doing over 638 permits. We processed 1,293 burn permits, 82 smoke management plans, and we also hired 2 new engineers during 2025. So they are doing well and in training, but we're doing better staffing. We also completed our 2024 air toxics hotspot report, which the board received that presentation in January, and that will be an ongoing issue that we'll be dealing with now for years to come. So, next slide. Okay, so data metrics and data points and metrics. Staffing levels, we are up to 4.8 staff. During the last fiscal year, we hired 3 new staff, so we are up to 4.8. Stationary source permits are up. These are primarily modifications of existing sources and a lot of diesel generators. So that's what we're seeing the most of at the moment. Many sources are converting their authority to construct permits to permit to operate. So we're seeing an increase in those as they move forward. And then we are receiving a significant portion of the applications. We are waiting on additional information. So that's why that number has increased as well for incomplete applications. Now, there was an issue. We did have a mistake in our in our data, the burn permits issued actually decreased by 28 from the previous year. So we will be submitting a correction for that so that the record will show accurately. But burn permits in 2025, we changed the start of burn season. It's now a solid November 1, and burn season goes November 1 to May 1. And in previous years, it was anywhere from October to January is when burn season started. So getting an annual burn permits issued was always a little more challenging. Smoke management plans decreased last year as well. We did push some people to burn permits from smoke plans that didn't actually need smoke plans. And we actually are pushing people to obtain burn permits because they can get their permits online quickly. Get the permit when you actually know what you're going to do, rather than buying permits for multiple lots and multiple properties without actually getting to the work later. So that way we don't have to track 0 burns, and they don't have to pay for permits that they're not using. So. And then with the OpenGov system and better communications with the planning departments at the county and the cities, we've seen an increase in NESHAP notifications, a lot more building permits and things coming to us. Serpentine dust control plans have remained the same. There are only a few projects every year where people are working in serpentine. Complaints did increase in the 2025, and that's mostly from burning, dust, and odors. These are non-cannabis odors. We don't deal with the cannabis odor. We refer those to community development, as we do not regulate cannabis. And then, again, there are no violations of the air quality standards this year, and our design values did decrease, which is a good thing for us. So that's actually better for air quality. So emphasis for 2026, of course, will be staff training. We have new staff, and we are looking at coming back with the next budget cycle and increasing again, adding a few more staff so that we don't end up with staff shortages should we lose someone. And then we have to also complete our 2025 air toxics reports. We have to complete the replacement certification of our meteorological tower, which had damage this last year. We do have a lot of programming to do to make that system work and get it certified. We're looking to pursue funds for upgrading additional air monitoring equipment, which is becoming old again, and continue annual upgrades to the online burn permit system. With the implementation of the new fee rule, of course, we have to reprogram all of our permitting systems, our databases that now currently were being used with our old system, with our old fee schedule. They all have to be redone, and that is all done in-house by our current staff. And then we have a EPA state federal technical systems audit that is planned in a couple weeks that we have to prepare for and deal with. We'll have EPA and ARB on site for most of a week, evaluating everything that we do air monitoring wise. So that is going to take a significant amount of our time. So with that.
Thank you. Do we have start with Supervisor Owen?
Hi, okay. I know we had brought this up, or Ed brought it up actually, during budgets. And at that time, we didn't really have an answer, as I remember. Was there an increase, or do we know what the increased cost is going to be with us taking over the management of the GAMP MOU?
That's still a question that we're working out, and it'll kind of depend on the MOU, how the MOU is written. So a lot of it we're going to manage it, but we are going to pass a lot of the work on to the contractor that is hired and paid through GAMP. So our administrative side, we're going to try and minimize that, and we'll just be the oversight body that.
Okay, but does the contractor still come out of our budget?
It comes out of our budget, but then it's paid by industry directly.
Okay.
So it'll be a separate budget unit, separate thing that'll be.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was wanting to see, how that was going to affect us, because we didn't have the answer to that in June or September. All right, next one was, I noticed there was like 300 or 631 fewer burn permits this year so far.
Yeah.
So do you know why that might be?
Yeah, there's a difference in, that's calendar year. So calendar year versus fiscal year
So we
or
could
burn
still-
season. So when we're, the 1,200 some burn permits is fiscal, or the burn season, but because it's 2026 or
So we might
2025
still,
data, it's,
that
yeah.
might still rise, okay.
yeah.
And then, I know I had mentioned it before, and I can't remember exactly what the, answer was. Meter for, the odor of cannabis.
No. Yeah, because we don't regulate cannabis at this point, we don't have anything for that, and we haven't done the research to figure out what that is, so.
Okay, because I know I'd brought it up before.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments for board? Seeing none, we're going to close that one. Thank you.
Thank you.
For being here, and we're going to be in recess for 2 or 3 minutes. At this point, we're going to hear from our sheriff's office, and we have our under sheriff, Corey Pollich, filling in for Sheriff Bingham today. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, under sheriff.
Good morning, and thank you, and I apologize for squeezing in on everyone. I'm trying to juggle a few things in my schedule today, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries.
As the board knows, the sheriff's office is fairly large. We have about 140 employees, and most people are familiar with our uniformed personnel that are out there. They see every day, in our patrol and corrections folks. We also have our coroner division, court security, OES, and dispatch. We also have a number of civilian employees in our records and finance doing a lot of good work that we really wouldn't be able to operate without those folks doing that work. So I'd like to mention that. Next slide. Looking at our data points, accomplishments, I want to focus on first our reduction in vacancies. Staffing has been an issue for us for many years and always continues, and that's not just us, that's everywhere. But I think we've done a fairly good job making a dent in it. We're currently sitting at 2 vacancies in our patrol deputy ranks. I think last year around this time we were at 5. So I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a pretty lengthy process to hire a patrol deputy. We're not have the luxury of lateral hires, which are peace officers that have already been through an academy. We have to use our trainee program. So from the time someone applies for that program and gets through an academy and a training program, it takes over a year. So we feel pretty good about that. And those 2 vacancies, we expect to have those filled by July and have 2 people in the academy in July. We just won't see them as solo deputies until after this sometime next year. Our correctional deputies currently sitting at 3 vacancies. I know some of the numbers might be off here, but these are updated numbers from yesterday. 3 vacancies for our correctional deputies. We do have 2 folks in backgrounds, so they're looking promising. So maybe in the next month or 2, we'll be able to get 2 more on in that area. I did want to mention, and going back to our patrol deputies, one thing I wanted to note was we didn't lose any deputies to another agency. That used to be an ongoing problem for us. So we hope that trend continues. So retention-wise, we're doing pretty good in that area. Correctional deputies, we lost a few, not so much to other agencies, but people changed professions and figured it wasn't for them and moved on. But we're doing pretty good in keeping up in that area. Our central dispatch, another area that is fairly hard to find. Those people are just unique folks that can do that job, so it's hard to find the right people. But we have 2 vacancies, but we do have 1 starting in a couple weeks, so making slow progress, and hopefully we continue in that area. Another note for kind of an accomplishment at our correctional facility. People may have seen the large security fence that's around the facility now. It's not pretty, but has become necessary just 30 years ago when the jail was built. County jails were different. So now we house people that normally would have been in prison. So just for the security of the community and also those in our facility, to keep contraband from coming into our facility, it's helped improve that. So that was the reason for our fence, and we appreciate that. Next slide, I think. Copter program. So the community-oriented policing and targeting restoration program continues to be a success for us. You can look at the stats: 140 arrests, 214 cases, 155 nuisance-related cases, and 6 stolen vehicles recovered. And then working in collaboration with code enforcement, the abatement of 218 vehicles, which is important to keep our community looking nice. Next slide. Guns seized, 15, and some drug totals there. This was mainly done by Detective Lyons. We unfortunately didn't have a sergeant in there for a significant part of the year. We did lose a sergeant to another agency, and then at the same time had an injury to another sergeant, and he's been out with a long-term injury. So hopefully that in the next few months that sergeant will be back from the injury and we'll backfill that position. So a lot of work by one person, but I wouldn't say that this wouldn't be addressed if we didn't have the copter program, but not to this level, and so it's definitely a success for us and the community. Marijuana enforcement, 133,867 plants eradicated last year. That was an increase. And then 19,000, almost 800 pounds of processed marijuana that was seized, and 5 guns also were seized. A couple additional accomplishments I wanted to note that are on the slide were Goat Mountain repeater. I know it's been talked about, but it was finally in place and operational this summer. And so it's working and providing radio coverage for those areas we didn't have it before. Also, this last year we created a drone program. We purchased 3 drones, and we have a drone unit. It consists of 5 deputies and a sergeant. They're all going through their certification process for that. We have a couple certified pilots. I wanted to note that shortly after we put those in operation, they were used in a couple search and rescue operations and located missing people fairly quickly, much more quickly than they would have otherwise. So definitely a benefit to have. Going on to our points of emphasis, at our jail, programs is a point of emphasis for us. After COVID came along, it kind of killed everything, and we had to shut everything down. And since 24, we've been slowly bringing things back and trying to find those resources to have those programs. One of the big ones is we want to establish a GED program for those in our custody, and we're working in collaboration with the Office of Education to make that happen. So hopefully that'll be coming sometime this year. A MAT program, Medicated Assistant Treatment Program, will also be coming sometime this year. We've had a limited MAT program where we continue, if someone comes into our facility on a program, we continue it. But later this year, it'll be offered to everyone who comes into our facility. So we look forward to seeing how that works and improves. Remodel of our Emergency Operations Center. So that should be starting any day. The contract was approved a couple weeks ago, so that'll take about 3 months. It's not going to expand our building, but it's going to expand the footprint of the EOC inside the building, so a lot more space. I don't know if you had the chance in a full activation. It gets kind of cramped in there when we get all of our personnel in there, so it's going to be a lot more room to operate and a little more comfortable, and earthquake safe is the big thing that's being done, along with some creature comforts. Our main office, new office renovation. I was out there last week. It's amazing how fast that's come together. Major construction is complete. All the walls are painted. Now it's just minor things that they're finishing up, and we're expecting to move in that facility sometime in the late spring, early summer. And we plan on having an open house for the public when that happens, so that everybody can come and tour the whole facility and see how nice it is. It's something to be very proud of. Something we're bringing back also this next year is our Citizens Academy. We haven't had one of those since 2019. So that's something we want to get accomplished in this year after we move into our new facility. It's a great opportunity for the public to get an insight to what we do and how we do it. Lastly, we will have a swearing-in ceremony here in the board chambers February 20th for our hires from this last year, and recognize a couple promotions from last year. And that is all I have. Thank you, and I'll answer whatever questions I can.
We'll start with Supervisor Pyska.
Under Sheriff, I have been hearing from the public how much they appreciate the ramping up of controlling the illicit cannabis grows. And there were a lot of areas in District 5, and I've heard from friends of mine in District 1 that they are beyond delighted at the pace and scale of which your team is going after these illicit grows. And Sheriff Bingham told me earlier this year that we're at a point right now where we have fewer than we've ever experienced, or at least in the recent past. So I just wanted to give you a moment to kind of speak about that, because
Sure.
It is really noticeable, and the public and myself are really appreciative.
So we have 2 people assigned to that unit, so that's obviously a lot of good work by a couple of our deputies. We use a lot of state resources to attack those illicit grows. And I would say that, it's probably noticeable. Unfortunately, over the years, those grows have moved from the national forest down into populated areas where it's a lot more noticeable to the people that have to live around it. And so obviously we're aware of that and are able to target those areas and eradicate those marijuana from those populated areas.
Oh, great. Keep up the great work.
Anything further? Supervisor Owen?
Yeah. The Copter program. And I know that there has been some success with that as far as helping with the human trafficking. So I've been told about people that were basically found and such. So is there anything you guys need to bring that, to make it stronger, that program?
Well, obviously, more people is always the answer to a lot
Sure.
of those problems, but not really that I'm aware of, other than more staff that will help
More
to
staff,
throw at
okay.
it. Any problem, you throw more staff at it, and they go out there and they fix it.
And kudos on almost reaching our fill on our numbers, because it's nice to move from the 5, and we'd been at 5 less than what we needed for a
feel
very
like,
long time.
We're seeing a lot more applications than we've seen in a lot of years.
That's
so
awesome.
The trend is looking better at people going into law enforcement, and so we've been having a lot of success in our hiring side.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from supervisors? Not seeing anything. Appreciate the work you're doing, and thank you for the presentation
I
today.
had one, Brad, sorry.
What was it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I just, I wanted to see you do that. No, just wanted to highlight that in December, we had a meeting, it was like a town hall in Nice. It went pretty well with the sheriff. He answered a lot of questions. It became basically a lot of questions from the public to the sheriff. I know code enforcement and Maria was there as well. But it was really helpful. I think probably be trying to schedule another one. I know that it really helps the public to just be able to have that dialogue. It went really well. And so I think with more of these and educating the public, it will help. I know that they're eager to push forward some neighborhood watches and things like that. So there may be a way to work together and kind of make them feel involved, give them the opportunity to have that sense of togetherness and whatnot. So they'll feel like they're carrying some of the load.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
We look forward to working with the public and addressing issues.
So I appreciate that, because I know that at the town halls, it becomes almost like a congressional hearing session rather than anything else. So I think that town hall is a little more relaxed and intimate. So we'll do that from here forward. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, we're going to move on to our assessor recorder. It's going to take the board clerk a minute or two but go ahead and come up. But we've got to get back to that section in the slides.
Do you know what number that is, what page number that is?
Offhand, I don't, but it's going to be back.
Should be at the bottom of this page.
Or 28 of your PDF.
Okay, thank you. Takes me a while to find them.
Okay, we ready, Carolyn? Go ahead, Mr. Ford.
Great. How's it going?
Good.
So we'll just talk about the assessor recorder for a second. So the assessor, we'll just go a quick overview. Assessor is responsible for valuation of all properties within the jurisdiction of the county, right? And the recorder is responsible for recording all documents that can be recorded, basically. We do over 300 documents that are presented to be recorded, and basically we have to record them and house them if they come basically properly able to be recorded. So quick overview of that. Let's go to accomplishments. I'll just go kind of quick. So I happily can say, finally, after years and years of trying to get this done, 6 years in the making, e-recording is live. It's been live since summer, and we now every day record documents that come through electronically through a system that is set up through the state. There's 2 main avenues to get it done, and we record every day now. So that's fantastic. That took a long time to get done, and that's finally done. And so that's good for my staff and good for the public. Our next kind of go with that, what you've heard, that basically helps industry in our county. We want to make sure we help the public by doing credit card, which is the third. And so I'll kind of jump around a little bit. The credit card, and we are working on that. We're doing some investigation. We've heard a little bit of something regarding the process that we're working on. We're a little bit deep into it at this point, and we've got some things we have to investigate and make sure it's smooth. So that's going to be delayed just a little bit until we can get some answers. And then our intention is by the time both of those processes are in place, the public will be able to pay for things electronically or basically by credit card or debit card, and e-recording, which helps industry, can do the same. So then all facets of our office on the recorder side will be basically able to do something besides just check and cash, which is currently what's going on. Further development of staff, as you guys know, we train in the morning, we train at night, and we send to throughout the state, depending on where the training is. We send our staff to a lot of training, plus we grab every training we can and run them in our offices. Anybody who's been up in our office, we have multiple places where we have big screens set up so we can run training. So you'll see my staff sometimes if you come up, 4 or 5 of them are sitting in the kitchen. We don't have a lot of big spaces in our area. Sitting in the kitchen, right in front of a big screen, going over some kind of Zoom or Microsoft Teams, training, getting some additional training. We're trying to beef up the training. We've been doing it for years. Most departments, we don't get people from the start trained, so we have to train every day and get them there so we can hold a standard. Our goal is consistency. So basically, if you come to any of my staff, our goal is that you get one answer for one staff, you come and see a different staff on a different day. Roughly, they'll have different styles, different ways to describe it, but definitely the same answer. That's what we're trying to get to. So that's where the training for their staff development comes. Any questions on that before I go to emphasis? No
questions? No.
Okay. So then, as we talked about, we're working on credit cards. We're kind of status of it. We're already at the vendor level. We're already debating when we're going to set our date for kind of implementing it. It sounds like it's in a couple months from now, might be multiple months, because we have to coordinate with the treasurer. There are flip side of that, and they've got some processes they're trying to implement right now, so we're trying to make sure we're not kind of crowding the space between us and them. Second, of course, I put this together before our last meeting, the low value ordinance. We know where we're at with that. We've had the meeting, so that will just keep following up in that same process. Whether that goes forward or not, that's based on our next meetings, right? Use code cleanup, we attempted to try and do it last year, but with the retirement of my second in command, that kind of derailed that a little bit. So we try to not put too many things to make it chaotic. So we're hoping maybe this summer we will get to, after we close the roll, will be a good time to clean up the code. Just to give you guys a background, again, I've said this a couple times, is we currently have, it's kind of a mathematical calculation, but it comes out to about 1,500 to 1,600 variations of use codes. A lot of counties have about 30. And so what that basically does is every time you go into Megabyte, like any database system, it's asking questions of every data point. So the more data points we have out there, the slower the system is, the more data it wants to hold. It's not a really good setup, so we need to clean that up. We've wanted to do it for years. Our attempt is this summer to get that done. And then one that is not on there, of course, emphasis from what we just talked about. My second in command just retired last summer. We are doing succession planning. We've been doing it for years. That's why you've not heard too much of a variation, even though that second in command is retired. We have continued to kind of move on and get people prepared for those steps, and will continue, because my feeling has always been succession planning is 5 to 10 years out. So we started succession planning at least 10 years ago, kind of mentally earmarking who might have skills or who can be developed. And so we will continue that emphasis, and that's why, even though we had a big change, losing your second in command to retirement is a big change. But if everything goes well, it should not be a huge, drastic change overall to operations if everything goes well. So that's kind of our focus, and that's kind of what we've been working on the last couple of years. And for this year, that's what we're going to be focusing on. Any questions?
Board members, Supervisor Pyska.
Just a comment. A lot of people are really happy about the e-recording.
Good.
Good. So I know that was a really long haul, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
And business is operating much smoother now.
Yes.
So
yes.
Great job to you and your team for that.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Yes, it was long and bumpy.
Worth it.
Worth it in the end. And in the end, once we get credit cards, it'll definitely be worth it. Bring us into a lot smoother for everyone.
Thank you. Not seeing anything further. We appreciate your work. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks.
And with that, we'll go ahead and close the assessor recorder and move on to our auditor controller and county clerk. Genevieve Harrington will come up.
Good morning, Board. Genevieve Harrington, Auditor, Controller, County Clerk. I'll just roll right into our 2025 accomplishments for the office. So as many know, we selected and initiated the implementation of Workday, our new enterprise resource planning system, in hopes to modernize county financial operations. And just so you know, the comprehensive presentation is coming soon. So there will be a full presentation coming to the board where we'll go over the whole history of the project. Secondly, we achieved as close as you get to full staffing and continuing the training. Something to point out is we've had a full team for a little while now, and we're training on what we knew, and now that everything's changing, we get to train on what's coming. So it's a never-ending process. And then we also earned awards for our state financial transaction reports that are submitted to the State Controller's Office, and as well as the Certificate of Achievement for our ACFR that is given by GFOA. And so let me break a little bit of that down. So our ACFR is the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. I just want to add that includes fund financial statements, so a full financial reporting for each fund, as well as it's represented in a government-wide presentation. And then there's also budgetary prior year and current presentations in that report. And then the state financial transaction reports that are submitted to the state controller, it presents it in a different way. However, we do have to tie those figures to the ACFR, so that way everything is balanced. So, and I just want to invite anyone who has any questions about the reports, please contact me. I'm happy to talk about them. There's a lot going on in there, depending on what you're looking for. Any questions on that section? All right, so next I was asked for some data points and metrics, and I'm swimming in them all day, but we went ahead and focused on the clerk metrics. So the fictitious business name filings, marriage licenses issued, and marriage ceremonies. And we're a little less than last year, but we're pretty much on par. We have a new normal after COVID. Something I do want to point out is our marriage ceremonies are very limited. So we have Wednesday afternoons, 3 slots every week that we can offer marriage ceremonies. We do our best to get creative, so weather permitting, we'll go across the street where the museum is and try to find a nice backdrop if we can do that and get staff out there to perform the ceremony. But it is something to note that we're kind of limited on how many we can do, because sometimes we get booked out for weeks. Let's see, any questions on that?
Not seeing any.
Okay. Then I will jump to 2026 points of emphasis. So completing phase 1 of the implementation of Workday is the biggest goal. The go live is July 1st, and that should be the finance system and the base HR, mostly finance, payroll, and then basic HR functions. And then we'll be beginning phase 2 of the implementation, and there's going to be a few things going on, and as Pam mentioned, that we'll be aligning that phase 2 with the open enrollment cycle to get the benefits going, but that's on a different schedule. And grants will also be addressed in phase 2 as well. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Do we have anything from the board at this point? Not seeing anything. We will thank you for being here and presenting that information to us today.
Thank you for your time.
And next, I'm going to move on to our Behavioral Health Department, and we have our Director, Elise Jones, here.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you, Board. Elise Jones, Director of Lake County Behavioral Health. Pleased to be back in front of you again for yet another issue update of our governance presentation. Next slide, please. So as you all are likely aware, California Behavioral Health has undergone massive changes in the past 2 years, notably expanding youth access to specialty mental health services, where youth really only need to have the presence of some trauma in order to qualify. And of course, we put them in the best system possible. But that has dramatically expanded access to specialty mental health services for kids. And we continue trying to penetrate into youth populations to make sure that all youth who need our services get access to them. We are working very hard on a very unglamorous, unfun project, which is data sharing. Forever, some of you have probably heard of interoperability. Likely a lot of you have experienced interoperability personally if you've ever logged into a patient portal. That type of thing. I know that I was recently seen in the emergency room. They did some imaging in the emergency room. I was followed up later that week with my primary care provider, and to my delight, my images appeared in their EHR. That is not magic. That is hard work, and that's the kind of thing we're trying to move forward so we can better coordinate services across plans for all of our beneficiaries and make sure that people don't slip between the cracks. I would like to just say we finally figured out payment reform. It took a minute, but I think we're on the other side of that now, and more to come. Mobile crisis is probably the star of the show, I would say, for Cal-AIM, and it seems to be the sleeper hit of California. That is a really great benefit. We'll have more to come about that. And of course, earlier on the agenda, it was noted that the current budget proposal for the state of California is proposing to reduce the state share of costs for those services. So presently, mobile crisis services are paid for entirely by the state and the federal government through Medicaid dollars, and there is no local share. So having to put up a local share would impact our totality of what we can afford to purchase for services. Okay, next slide, please. Opioid settlement funds. We have taken on and continue to be a steward of that, as we're not technically a lead administrative entity. We are working with Health Services and SafeRx, and we will be coming back here soon, I hope in the first quarter of this year, before the close of the first quarter, to review opioid settlement funds projects, planning, a pretty comprehensive update. However, we are pleased to see 4 projects moving forward, one of which is a mental health rehabilitation / ASAM level of care. ASAM is basically an addiction treatment facility certification. So this is essentially 16 beds for people who are struggling with pretty significant mental health and or substance use challenges that can support detox in that facility. Right? So nursing services, things of that nature. At this time, that project is moving pretty full steam ahead. The properties are purchased, the plans are drawn. I believe that we are waiting on permitting, which can take a while, so very excited to see that progress. We also see an incredible collaboration with Kanakatai Native Wellness. I really want to shout out Kyle and Alvina Bill, leadership over there. They are doing an incredible job. Just had a chance to personally review their first invoice packet for the opioid settlement funds, and very pleased with the caliber of work and the quality of engagement that they're doing with our vulnerable Native youth. Also, some awards, we are hoping to open up a youth intensive outpatient treatment. What does that mean? That's like you go to school for however long, if you are going to school, some youth are not, and then you go to you're going to a structured program that's going to keep you for the day and give you skills and support. So we're looking forward to hopefully seeing that launch within, I would say, the next 3 to 6 months. And that will be a DMC ODS benefit. So it will help us launch into being able to bill for those services.
Where is that going to be?
The IOP is on the first floor of the public defender building. What is that? I know it's off right by the park.
First Street?
Yeah, First Street. It's right. It's that gorgeous building. And so the contractor has, I believe, rented out the first floor, completed renovations, and working on all of the many permits and licenses and stuff for that. So that is moving forward. Recovery housing, a lesser project, but we do need all kinds of housing, obviously, and recovery housing does remain a gap in our community. So for people exiting a residential treatment program or a higher level of care, not everybody has a place to land, and so this is a place for people to land after that. Okay, in collaboration, of course, with our wonderful administration, and big shout out to Susan Parker, we finally closed, or opened rather, Palace in Place, 40 units, finished that. So we're very happy about that, and just continuing, of course, as is the plan to provide on-site services. So we have, I believe at this point, 2 FTE that are, they're there during the work week to do what they do, because it's the permanent supportive portion of that. So we're doing our part. We increased actual services billed by 65%. And that speaks for itself. Okay, next slide. Okay, we continue. This is just maintaining mobile crisis. I want to talk, of course, about money, and we'll be coming back here soon to talk a lot more in depth about money. But a couple of years ago, we ultimately had to borrow $4 million, 3 of which was from the county general fund from a reserves account, 1 of which was graciously loaned to us by our Department of Social Services in 2025, or maybe it was 24. Time is, was it? Okay. We paid back Social Services. We've also paid back another $1 million to the general fund, and we have $2 million remaining, and repayment is in progress. And again, future update, hopefully well before the end of this quarter for the first calendar year, will be forthcoming on finances. We're trying to, of course, decrease. We have a backlog of payments. I previously stated we're about 4 months behind. So we're trying to catch that up, prioritizing Medicaid billable services. We are moving forward with our, we were awarded a $7.7 million grant to renovate, revitalize, and expand pretty significantly our Clear Lake Clinic, our South Shore Clinic. I do have an update, and that is we are at a permit approval place with the city of Clear Lake, and Mr. Director Ewing is on top of it. So we're hoping, I think you said June or July? Summer. He's like, don't put, yeah, so we're hoping summer. We're already planning for depopulation. That's a challenge, so bear with us. I don't know if anybody has seen the movie The Money Pit. It's one of my favorite, but they always say 2 weeks. So hopefully that's not the type of situation we find ourselves in, but very much looking forward to a clean, refreshed place that unfortunately we've already grown out of by the time we move back into it. How wild is that? That's how it goes. But we're expanding, which is great. So treatment capacity investment, talked about that, the 16-bed campus, talked about opioid summit fund. So all of those things we continue to manage. Next slide, please. Okay. Big, small detail, Prop 1 was passed. We're shifting to the Behavioral Health Services Act. Likely some or not all of you have participated in planning meetings for the BHSA, probably historically the MHSA. We really pride ourselves on engaging our community and solutioning together. We have done a lot of advocacy, myself included, in Sacramento and with my Directors Association, to protect small county flexibility and to continue to say, hey, please don't treat us like LA. We have thus far been effective in, the state has said, hey, you can get some exemptions for these difficult evidence-based programs to lift. You don't have to meet this full fidelity, really hard requirement to be in compliance. And so that was a huge win for us. Now that said, of course, we would love to implement to the highest fidelity, but it's challenging with our workforce constraints. So that was welcome. We have shortened our A&R, so our aging accounts receivable. And that's been a big deal to us, is to try to bill up the claims to the state as fast as we can, get them back and paid down, and keep the churn flowing as quickly as possible. Our goal, which we actually met for the first time this month, was to send up money to our intergovernmental transfer account for our local share of cost to purchase services without having to be asked. Normally, the state will send you a nastygram and say, hey, we cannot pay you unless you put up more funds to pay for these services and match them. And so for the first time, we did not have to wait for that. We were able to anticipate exactly, what we could afford to put up based on the services. And so that, to me, marked a real tipping point, and also is in line with our previous fiscal planning that identified this moment as a time when we should see that balance tip. So that is a very hopeful sign. Maintaining, again, that IGT balance, so we are just flush, and it's a constant churn of claims, and there's no lag. Paying provider invoices promptly. Historically, we've had an excellent track record of paying on time promptly, to the extent that it burned through all of our reserves when we were absent any payments for about a year and a half. So we are going to get back to that place, and again, thank you. A more in-depth, no, you were perfect. No. CalAIM, housing supports. This is kind of major, and this is something that we're working on. We are, as the behavioral health plan, we are going to opt into providing the transitional housing benefit. What is that? For eligible individuals in our system, you may be able to receive things like a deposit for your place, rent assistance for up to 6 months. And so we're coordinating with that. In fact, the contract between our department and Partnership Health Plan for those services is being routed for approval as we speak. So that should be coming to fruition here in the next couple of months. Happy to provide that expanded suite of Medi-Cal covered services to our beneficiaries. All right, next slide. So, of course, we are a heavily regulated entity. We are regulated by state and federal laws in terms of the services that we are required to provide. Included in that, they also monitor the timeliness of those services, rightfully so, right? So they want to see that routine requests for appointments are fulfilled within 10 days, urgent requests within 48 hours, and of course maintaining our 24/7 crisis benefit. More or less, we meet our access and timeliness requirements pretty much consistently year after year. Of course, I've talked pretty extensively about our fiscal data points that we're going to be tracking moving forward. Another one that I've brought to this board before and also to the community is Senate Bill 43. It went live on January 1st. Your board may recall that Lake, along with 56, I believe, at least 55 other counties deferred implementation of this. What is Senate Bill 43? It expands people who fall under the definition of conservatorship for mental health, for Lanterman and Petrus Short Act conservatorship, to people who are experiencing inability to care for themselves because of a substance use disorder. And so you can probably think or have a mental image in your mind of people in our community that would benefit from that. And so Senate Bill 43 was delivered, and we are here. We're working with Department of Social Services, notably, because this is likely a pretty, it's an increase, I don't know to the extent how big, of their work because the public guardian holds these individuals. So we're trying to work towards a decrease in the amount of hours that we board people in emergency rooms. But that is difficult because this essentially expands the amount of people who could qualify to be boarded, because we, as you may also recall, often wait for beds. And beds for this population are very hard to come by because it's so new. That said, we are doing road shows. We are doing facilities, trying to find beds, and we'll make it work. So I would say we're coming together to make that happen. Okay, next slide. Okay, what else are we going to continue to look at? Housing supports, again, that transitional rent benefit. So we will be looking at the number of deposits that people have received, the number of short-term rent payments people have received, and those are all monitored in collaboration with Partnership Health Plan. We are also continuing to focus on our relationship with the Lake County Office of Education, and coordinating and collaborating with all of our school districts, which are site certified for specialty mental health. And so also looking at how do we support families with these benefits. That's a focus always. Next slide, I believe. Okay. Workforce, we have federal requirements pertaining to our workforce. We must have a certain number of FTE for all different types of professionals, otherwise we receive a corrective action plan. So we maintain that. We maintain the required number of, for example, psychiatrists, social workers, things of that nature. We are going out to bid actually for all of our psychiatry services. That request for proposals should be issued later this month, as well as many other services. And that will be in line with our workforce demands. So in the next 90 days, we're really hoping to finalize the Senate Bill 43 protocols, cross-training, collaboration with the local hospitals, public guardian, and other agencies as needed and required. We have our IGT calendar of when we need to make uploads, and we work through any denials of claims. Our claims error rate remains under 1%, which is still the best in the state. We are also working in collaboration with statewide efforts to stand up outcomes dashboards that are in line with the requirements from the state of California, which is clearly identified outcomes it would like to see behavioral health plans work towards. Next slide. Oh, that was me. Any questions?
Any questions from board members? Not seeing any at this point. We thank you for being here and presenting all that information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elise.
And next, we're going to move on to our Child Support Services Department. We have our Director, Tammy Widener, here.
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you for having me. Tammy Widener, Child Support Services. I'm going to start off with our 2025 accomplishments. We transitioned to the California Department of Child Support Services, managing our connection to the state child support system. We replaced our legacy workstations with modern hardware and updated software, significantly improving system performance, security and user productivity. We completed our DCS Information Security Office Safeguards Review, ensuring full compliance with state mandated data protection and security protocols, and we increased our payments dispersed to families from $4,863,634 to $5,043,957. Our data matrix for this 2025, our caseload remained the same from last year. Our total number of unduplicated participants increased to 8,588. Our total number of children requiring establishment of parentage is 102. Total number of children being actively serviced, aided and non-aided is 2,775. We participated in 6 outreach public events. We added a new matrix this year for 2025 at the request of Supervisor Sabatier. Total arrears not paid, $35,418,714, which affected 2,193 children.
Can we pause right there?
Yes.
That is a stab in the heart.
It is.
So that's $16,000 per children, approximately a little bit more. That's huge.
Very
And
huge.
what can we do about that is not being done currently? Because the level of, I guess, the atmosphere, the surrounding, the place in which these children are growing up in, that's a huge difference in their life. And what can we do to help you to not have this large of a number that just seems absurd?
I will tell you that that number is large all over the state of California. And it was very interesting when I asked for this number from the state that they were quite surprised at that statistic themselves. As far as that number, I know our staff and my deputy director, we're working on trying to get our collections up. There's not a whole lot more we can do. We're fairly fully staffed, and a lot of our enforcement actions are automated. So they come through, you know, we have income withholding orders that are automated, we have bank levies automated. And I do know that the state is taking away some of our enforcement actions, the ability of taking driver's license and those sorts of things. So they're really working on forgiving a lot of the arrears also for people that can't pay for it, to pay. So that's the uncollectible debt.
Well, I feel horrible for asking for this information because it hurts.
It does. It does. It's very hurtful. But the positive side of it is that our collections, as far as disbursements out to the families, are up. But the arrears are old.
And without asking for any time soon, it would be great to break that down on a year to year. Are we doing better in the collection? Is this for the last 20 years, the last 5 years, the last 3 years as far as the arrears? Just to better understand if this is a lot of old stuff that probably would be really difficult to deal with, or if we're still dealing with the same level of amount that just goes unpaid, that these children are not getting the support that they should.
I can definitely work on that for you.
Yeah, and maybe for next year, or maybe during budget, but just no rush on that. But this hurts, and I'd love to see what is possible, because our children could use an extra $16,000 a year in their life.
Yes.
Supervisor Pyska.
And so you mentioned that it's common throughout the state, but where are we if it were ranked county by county? Is this proportionately higher?
We are very low on our statistics as far as where our collections are at. Tracy, do you remember where we're at? We're at number 47. 47. Very low. It's not good.
Okay. Anything further?
I'd love to have further discussions about that, just to better understand what our restrictions are and what our options are. Because if we're not doing everything, and I'm not saying you're not doing everything, but if we as a board is not doing everything to help those children who are really going to be impacted by the level of income that is happening, and it's not income, but you know what I mean, the money that is within their lives to provide the things that they need, then we are perpetuating what is currently the status quo, and that is just unacceptable to me, and something that I just want to continue to have a conversation about. So I appreciate the information. I am completely distraught by that this level of information.
Okay, I'm sorry for that.
Okay.
Okay. For the 2026 points of emphasis, we're going to increase number of open cases. Well, we want to increase number of open cases and collections on current support and arrears. Implement new child support legislation that fundamentally restructures the way child support is pled and established. This includes adapting internal procedures to align with the new state mandated guidelines that emphasize income-based calculations, low-income adjustments, and evidence-based determinations, ensuring compliance, fairness, and improved service delivery to our customers. That was a huge legislation change that we had that implemented January 1st of 26. We do continue to work on staff development and succession planning and training by utilizing multiple free online training platforms, training materials provided by the State Department of Child Support Services. And the data matrix, we're going to stay the same for 26 unless the board wants to add some additional information. No.
Anything further from the board? Not seeing any at this point. Thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm going to move on to our Community Development Department and call up our Director, Maria Turner.
Good morning. Maria Turner, Community Development Director. The vision of the Community Development Department is the provision of excellent public service through 3 priorities: staff recruitment and retention, staff professional development, which is ongoing, and pursuing fiscal sustainability for the Planning and Code Enforcement Division. Our department has realized a number of significant accomplishments during this past year, which have improved our service provision as well as have positive impacts in our communities. And I'm excited to highlight just a few of those. We went live with the OpenGov permitting software in March of 2025. This replaced Acela, which we had for a number of years tried to get to work, but it remained clunky, unreliable, and extremely expensive. We're very excited at the progress that we have made through OpenGov, particularly an electronic permitting portal, which makes it easier for the public so they don't have to drive up to an hour and a half to get to our office. They can get their business done remotely. It also is greatly improved in our in the reporting capabilities. In the building division, we worked with the community residents to achieve compliance on FEMA minus rated properties. This is a much bigger lift than it just looks like in writing. FEMA sent us a number of properties dating back to the 70s that we needed to work with the owners as well as with FEMA to resolve what they saw as problems that would impact the NFIP, or the National Flood Insurance Program. We accomplished that. We completed year 2 of Lake County 2050 general plan update, as well as all the local area plan updates. We also threw in a climate adaptation plan for fun, and we accomplished year 2. As the board knows, the climate adaptation plan has been approved by this board as well as both cities, because we kept that as a regional plan so that it benefits our other jurisdictions, not just the county. Gwinnett Valley mixed-use development was approved. Annual compliance monitoring, site visits of 110 permittee locations. And we were happy to partner with the administrative office for the Housing Action and Implementation Plan, and we continue to stand ready to support ongoing implementation of that plan. Next slide, please. Code division. Through a Cal Recycle grant, we collected over 1 million pounds of trash in the Nice, Lucerne, and Clear Lake Oaks areas, and wanted to extend thanks to Supervisors Sabatier and Crandall for visiting and pitching in. This was a remarkable series of community events where our team was out helping to collect this trash. A number of the residents were able to bring their garbage locally. It really impacted our North Shore neighborhoods. Additionally, we received a community development block grant, which will go to support our substandard housing programs, as well as it's going to bolster our hazardous vegetation assessments and enforcement. And then our illegal cannabis enforcement team did identify 71 illegal cannabis sites, eradicating over 8,000 cannabis plants. And I wanted to extend our ongoing appreciation for the collaboration and the support of the Sheriff's Office in those efforts. Thank you. Next slide. For the building division, as well as the other divisions, we are preparing a more robust presentation regarding the historic as well as daily operations fiscally related of the Community Development Department, which will also help to explain the year-by-year increases and decreases that we see in our building permits as far as what we receive from year to year. You'll see the asterisks next to permits issued by category. This is due to OpenGov. We now have a much better ability to illustrate to the board and to the public about the year-to-year changes of types of permits as well, and to be a metric ongoing so that the board is more familiar with the year-to-year changes in the building permits we've received. Additionally, I already said that. Next slide, please. 2025 data points and metrics. Planning Division, again, a more robust presentation on February 10th of our year-to-year changes in permits received or applications received. We are noticing a slight decrease in planning. A new metric that we have added is approved projects that are conventional versus cannabis. These are projects that have gone before the Planning Commission and received decisions. You'll note in Code Division, increase in everything that we report. The cases opened, the cases closed, citations, as well as a relatively new metric that we're reporting is the total amount from the citations that have been cited, anyway, not necessarily collected. And again, that more detail will come to you as your presentation on February 10th. Cases opened by category. I wanted to, let's see, one thing I forgot to point out on a previous slide was an accomplishment of the code enforcement, which was our year of COPTER, the Community-Oriented Policing and Targeted Restoration Program. One metric not pointed out that I thought was definitely worth noting was from the COPTER program, so that is just in the communities of Nice and Lucerne. There were 218 abandoned vehicles towed just from those two communities. That's a significant positive impact. If we could, let's see. Nope, you're right. Stay right there. Another thing I'd like to point out is we are looking to AI to improve our internal efficiencies with both code enforcement and planning. We're looking for opportunities to aid in report writing that will save staff a considerable amount of time, as well as possibly becoming an aid for the staff that we may bring on in the future where writing may not be their skills, may not be one of their strengths. Additionally, we are looking at continued low turnover of our staff, low vacancy, ongoing trainings in planning on CEQA, law changes, and other items. I wanted to point out that supporting these accomplishments and making these differences in our community is attributable, we can attribute it to our ongoing professional development. Our building staff is increasing in certifications, and I'll point out a new one that we're going to add to the requirements of our staff for the ever-increasing legal requirements that are applied to our department. That's in the next slide. But OpenGov and improved technology, as well as exploring uses of AI, are ways that we are continuing to improve the internal service provision and staff efficiencies that then in turn affects our provision to the public of public service. Next slide, please. Things we're looking forward to in 2026. Revising the division budgets for overall increased fiscal health. Again, I will refer to or just highlight that we have a pretty detailed and thorough presentation coming on February 10th. We've been working in lockstep with the administrative office and have a lot of robust slides to show you at that time. Building a defensible space program. This is the increased requirements on our department regarding making sure people are following defensible space requirements. We also see Zone 0 coming. It might not be this year, it might be next year, but we're looking at that for implementation. And because of that, our building inspectors are going to start taking fire inspection certifications too. That's someplace where we have fallen short historically in our department. We only have so far our chief building official is able to do those inspections, and we're going to spread that out, cross-train our staff so that we'll be able to accomplish more of those. We look forward to the year 3. This is now year 3, or the final year of the Lake County 2050 General and Local Area Plan updates. Adoption of Article 73, so that is our comprehensive update on cannabis regulations. complete our housing annual performance report by April as required by the state, and we're going to begin the 7th cycle of our housing element preparation. The housing element is due, I think, summer of 2027, but it takes a solid 18 months to get done, and I am thankful that we have secured some funding to help support that housing element process. And then also implement our body-worn camera program in code enforcement. That policy has been in county council for finalization and final details. These are the 2026 metrics that may change just because our ability in what we report to you has improved with OpenGov, but I'm open to any suggestions the board may have right now. And that concludes my presentation. I am happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from board members at this point? Not seeing any. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
And we're going to move on to our county council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So thank you for this opportunity. And I want to introduce one of our deputies in our office, is Deputy County Counsel Jackson Berriman.
Yeah,
correct. He's here to assist us in case your board has any specific questions in the presentation we're about to provide, including the metrics. To begin, as you know, our office generally provides legal representation and assistance to the County of Lake, County Board of Supervisors, and county departments. That's actually identified in our 2026 points of emphasis that I'll get to. But next slide, please. I will jump right into the 2025 accomplishments of our office. As you probably know, our office is not able to provide any specific confidential identifying details on matters that involve litigation or pending litigation. So that's most of our office's work and projects. But here we can provide a general description of our office's accomplishments, and you see that there. 956 documents reviewed for county departments. That includes contracts, resolutions, memoranda, ordinance drafts. Goes to our office for approval as to form. Our office has handled, for 2025, our office has handled 106 ongoing juvenile dependency cases. Shout out to Nikki, Pamela Sandberg, our deputy who primarily handles juvenile dependency. Our office has handled also 150 probate and conservatorship cases in 2025. Shout out to Jackson, our deputy. He's also handling those probate and conservatorship cases. And we've handled, for 2025, our office specifically has handled approximately 140 Public Records Act requests. Then that's just our office. I'll get into more detail on information related to those requests beyond our office and the data related to that. So next slide, please. And that's what we'll get into at some point. So with the 2025 data points and metrics, you see the symbols there. Most of it has increased, but I will, for your board's information and reference, I'll also cite to what was previously provided in 2024 that would give the indicator of why some of those categories are up, and I think one of them is down. At least one of them is down. So for the first category, as far as documents reviewed, that was up from 2024, from 811 to 956. Active juvenile dependency cases went up from 74 to 106. Active probate and conservatorship cases also went up from 129 in 2024 to 150 in 2025. The next category, where you see a down figure there, a decrease, is actually that we, since the time we submitted this information to the administration office, we looked into it further, had additional discussions with the county's third-party liability representative, or third-party administrator rather, Carl Warren, and that had to be. So there's a correction to that. It's not actually down. It's actually up from 44 in 2024 as far as third-party liability claims to actually not 27. It's 56, approximately 56. for third-party liability claims. Now, as for the number of litigation and complaints summons reviewed by our office, it also went up from 10 to 20. Number of workers' compensation claims reviewed, that's another correction that needs to be made there upon further review with the county's workers' compensation claims representative. It's actually the same number. So from 2024, it was 49, 2025, it's also 49 as far as the compensation claims that our office primarily reviewed. Then we get into the both the number of Public Records Act requests and the number of hours spent on Public Records Act requests. We've done as much as we could as far as collecting this type of data, and we've collected much more data information than what we've collected back in 2023 and 2024. So that is the main caveat here. So for the category of the number, just the quantity of Public Records Act requests that was reviewed by the county, not just our office, back in 2024, what we reported was 248 and that is based 248 Public Records Act requests, but that is fairly limited and narrow in scope because that's mainly based on the requests that were submitted through the county's Laserfish system. It is interdepartmental. It goes through, once a Public Records Act request goes into and gets submitted through Laserfish, depending on where the records are located, it does get assigned to those departments. So in that sense, it's not just one department handling it. However, we've come across information that there are some departments out there where requests don't go through the Laserfish system, but they get sent directly to the departments. And a lot of those requests are handled by that specific department. And since 2024, we've done our best, our office has done our best to scour, created a survey of sorts, contacted other departments for the number of requests that they've received for 2025. And that's the figure that you see there. There are at least 1,244 across all county departments beyond Laserfish. From 248 to 1,244, it may seem to be a large gap, but because of those caveats, it may be the case that it may be just a slight increase, or the numbers may be generally the same from 2024 and 2025, which would be approximately, at least 1,244 as far as the requests. And these are requests coming from there's a large, just for the board's general information, Sheriff's Office handles a voluminous amount of records requests on their own, and so we've gathered data from them. We've gathered data separately from CDD, and this is independent from what was submitted in Laserfish. So that's why you have this increased amount. As for the number of hours, back in 2024, the only data that we presented to the board and that we were able to research was from our office only, and we looked at executive time hours, even from other departments, and what we found is that there's not a lot, it doesn't get reported necessarily in executive time under the specific tab of Public Records Act requests, although undoubtedly work is being done on that Public Records Act. So that's where you see, back in 2024, when it was presented to your board, it was 201 hours from our office only, because that is something our office can verify. Since that time, for purposes of 2025, again, we've scoured, we've reached out to other departments to see what data they have, along with Laserfish, with administration, other departments who typically receive these requests, these records requests on a regular basis. And what we've come to conclude or infer at this point, is that there's at least 1,800 hours across all county departments, including the county counsel's office, being spent for 2025 in handling, responding to, producing documents under the Public Records Act. And that's at least. We've received estimates as much as 2,200 at that point. So these are estimates, and I guess I'll just move on to the next slide before I open it up, before I open up to any questions. 2026 points of emphasis, I mentioned that, as part of our role in the County Council's office, we continue to provide legal representation and assistance to the County Board of Supervisors and county departments. And as always, we will our office prioritizes retaining deputies and staff to promote the efficient workflow in our office. So if the board has any questions, please, I'm open to any questions that your board may have.
Not seeing any at this point.
Okay. And before I could move on to the next slide, those data metrics generally refer to the same metrics that I just presented to your board. As you can see there, documents reviewed, juvenile dependency, probate conservatorship cases, third-party, the claims, both on the workers' comp side and the third-party liability. And then you have the Public Records Act. We're open to any additional metric points that your board may have. And I do want to take this opportunity to thank my staff, County Council staff, of course, your board, and all other county departments for the support and collaboration throughout, even before and to the present. We just want to give that take time to say thanks to that, because we're very grateful. Our office would not function as effectively and as efficiently as it would without the collaboration of the other county departments, of course, your board.
Thank you, County Council. Do we have any comments or questions from the board? Not seeing any. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, we're going to move on to our district attorney, Susan Cronus.
Okay, good morning. I guess it's still morning. Okay, well, let's get on with the slides. So accomplishments. Obviously, we've had some very serious cases prosecuted last year. And I think we've been pretty successful in prosecuting those cases. We have implemented procedures to comply with the race-blind charging. We've been doing that since the beginning of 2025, and we have a program in place right now that we're going to be using until March or April, because our new case management system already has a race-blind charging component. That will make it easier to do and save paper, so save trees. Because right now we're printing them out, we have to redact them. The program on our new case management system will do that for us, but we will continue to comply with that. We started, as I said, we're starting the process to transfer to the new case management system. We have a training in March 23rd through the 27th, where everybody's going to get trained, initial training on this new system. And so it's going to be intensive training. It'll be a learning curve for a lot of people, including me. But I think overall it's going to be a great asset to our office, and able to be able to analyze data, case data more efficiently than now. And we also have provided over 1,000 victims and family members that have been impacted by the criminal justice system. Our victim witness office does lots of output to the community, provides presents during Christmas time, holiday time, and just as, of course, we have our interviews center, where we've done a lot of interviews in 2025. And that goes on to successful prosecutions or pleas in those cases. Sometimes these cases take a long time from the interview to going to court, but, you know, we've been very successful in getting resolutions for these children that were abused. Okay, next slide. This is, well, let me just say that this at the time, I believe, was data from 2024, so I do have new data on that filed. Felonies is 884. Oh, no, that's the new data. Okay. And misdemeanors, I think that is all up to date. Okay, next slide. The points of emphasis, obviously, is the transfer of our new case management system is very important. It's going to be, you know, we have to transfer it over on, you know, everything has to be transferred one day, and then we all have to be trained on it. We're going to keep our old system so we can work out the kinks, and we will have that older system to refer back to. I'm going to be recruiting more effort to recruit because we have a new attorney, which we're really pleased with, a new felony attorney, but however, we're losing a misdemeanor attorney at the end of this week. So we're going to increase our recruitment efforts and just hopefully get new attorneys and other staff, because we are going to be losing some key staff in the future in 2026 and 2027. Unless we can bribe them to stay. I don't think so. Okay, next slide. Convince them to stay. We wouldn't bribe them. So the data points basically are, those are the data points that we intend to try to determine. It may be more difficult in regards to the number of certain cases until we can get familiar with our new data, our database and our new program from for the case management system, which would keep those statistics. So we will try to basically the last. Obviously, the last 3 points there is in regards to our victim witness office, and they are very good at keeping track of the number of individuals served, as well as the interviews and outreach that they do every year. Okay, is there another slide? No. Okay, any questions?
Any questions from board members? Not seeing any at this point. We thank you for being here and presenting.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to get one more of these before lunch. That's going to be health services. And that'll be the last one before lunch. You can come up, Mr. Arden.
Good morning. All right, my favorite day of the year, where I get to come in and brag to you guys about all the excellent work we do over here at Health Services. Next slide. Okay, thanks. All right, so some of our accomplishments. I know the board's always very interested to know where our vacancy rate is, 22% down to 18%. Supervisor Sabatier, I'm 3% away from the goal that I promised you as my annual eval last year. So, and sounds like we're pretty well in line with where the county's at. So I saw it during HR's presentation. Staff development included this year management and leadership training series that Lisa Fracco and I have started. Prior year, you guys know that we started the 3 annual training days where we close down and focus on safety, regulatory compliance, and health equity. So that continues to be ongoing. This year, we implemented the tobacco retail licensing from January to July. We focused on education with all the retailers in the county, and then we began enforcement measures starting in September this year. And there'll be some data coming along with that later on in the slides. The Safe RX program expanded their newspaper and vending machines for Narcan distribution. Our finance team, Lisa Faracco and Tuesday Galato, have just done a phenomenal job in enhancing our fiscal practices. We've started the Time Study Buddy, which I believe social services use, and then we have a ticketing system for our IT and maintenance issues with it as well, and that's saving us some time and money on prioritizing things. We've expanded staffing. New public health services have started in our clinic. We started tuberculosis skin testing. That was a big need in the community, and we're seeing some good numbers there, and that's keeping us pretty busy when our clinic's open. We are having a very slow, gradual launch of our new EHRs, both in public health and the environmental health. That has been quite the chore. Those systems just are not, there's just not a whole lot of tailored systems for electronic health records for environmental health and public health, so it is a chore getting through all the bugs. And then we created the new following reports, the activity report, which is our monthly data collection and tracking system, which also then feeds into our annual report, which I believe you guys all got in May this year. And then Deputy Director Faracco and her team have started monthly budget reports as well, and that just started in November. So still a little kinks to work out with that, but overall doing really well. So and that's helping, again, shore up our fiscal practices. We also created a new pandemic response plan. Dean and Christine were very helpful with that. We've updated our Mohawk manual with all of our partners. We are now a Blue Zones approved workplace. We had 2 jail medical inspections this year, along with corrective action plans for WellPath and the jail. So I really feel like we've improved our collaboration and oversight with WellPath as our partners. And as you guys are aware, we have had, very proud to say that we have 3 Beacon of Hope Award winners. Saul, Liberty, and Tricia. So I was very, very proud of that when that was announced in early October. Veteran Services was able to provide this data, so I'm just reading this on behalf of Saul. He had about 3,004 unduplicated clients, so staying really busy over there, and approximately 5 million in claims to veterans and their children and spouses. Unfortunately, this was about all the data he was able to provide. I think he was extremely busy with something else that was going on. So he did send on his apologies for not having more thorough data. Samantha sent on for first 5, continued to strengthen cross-sector systems, working across collaboratives, advisory boards, work groups, provided 17 webinars to over 36 agencies on these various programs, provided funding for a car seat program, which served 192 children, ages 0 to 5, and instrumental in reviving and maintaining momentum for the Breastfeeding Coalition. Let's see, what is this? I think these are the, environmental health numbers. So number of new wells permitted, 58 with 5 pending. This was as of early December. Active food permits, 311, so pretty much all the restaurants in the county. Number of food inspections done throughout the year, 402. Total inspections across all programs, 978. 4 or 1% of the food inspections resulted in facility closures. Either no hot water, pest infestation, or sewage backup. Total complaints received that our team looked into was about 145. And then here's our tobacco retail numbers. 68 permits issued, 2 remain in non-compliant, again, as of early December. I think those are still outstanding. And then 43 inspections completed so far. And that is all the unincorporated area. You guys should be seeing MOUs come across your desks, hopefully within the next month or so, from City of Clear Lake and City of Lakeport, so we can do the retail inspections there. So, more data. Clinic data. So immunizations total, 779. And then unique clients served for our vaccines, 574. These continue to trend down primarily because as we get farther and farther away from COVID and the pandemic, there's less and less need for the COVID vaccines, which was really driving some of the vaccine numbers up from our health department in prior years. Investigations for bacterial sexually transmitted infections is at 352. Viral STIs is at 47, and then other pathogens at 37. The outlier communicable diseases you guys have asked about in the past is West Nile virus. That remains at 0. I think we had 6 in 2023, if I remember correctly. HIV is up slightly to 10. I think we were at 6 or 9 last year. And then tuberculosis, new cases, 0. But we've had to do a lot of work with some ongoing tuberculosis cases that started in 2024. And that kept us quite busy. That case management for that is a lot. It's a very complex disease. Here's the EMCC IFT data submitted by the hospitals. 787 interfacility transfers. 4 of them were priority 1s, as in high need. And then 695 were seeking higher level of care. And here's all the breakdown on the numbers on that. I don't think you guys want me to read everything. And I probably can't pronounce half those anyways. Let's see, points of emphasis. I'm having a hard time reading that top line. Something previous service-led community and fiscal. Continue with staffing levels the best that we can. Obviously, we're entering in a really unique time where there's just not a whole lot of money, and there's more regulations coming our way, and so we're really just going to try to keep our staffing up. And it's hard to keep your staffing up if there's no budget or budget money coming in for it. We are in the process, probably about a third of the way through, of implementing a new strategic plan. We're in the process with the management team on creating that right now. So doing a SWOT analysis and just figuring out how do we want to position ourselves for the next 4 to 5 years. Improve revenue collection and fiscal management throughout the department. As you guys know, I really want to continue to ramp up services that we provide. I want to be able to bill for some of those services because if we are continuing to see where grants and contracts are coming down, we've got to figure out a way to keep our staff and be able to provide services. So, and to me, my philosophy is if you have licensed medical professionals in your building, it's a waste to not be able to charge for some of those. Yes, it's a good service, but if we want to continue that staffing up and be able to provide, you've got to be able to have some revenue coming in to support that. Lisa and I are we're going to work on a management manual and leadership development, an actual like handbook, so to speak, for incoming managers. Continue to work on communication up and down the organization. That continues to be a little bit of a flaw that we have, but we're continuing to try to make progress on that. Lisa and her team are also working on continuing to standardize policies and procedures. We've made a lot of improvement in our clinic. Our clinic is almost in compliance with everything, whereas when I started, there was numerous things out of compliance. Environmental health, that's going to be an emphasis for the environmental health team this year, as well as the fiscal side. And Lisa's done a really good job getting the fiscal policies up to date. The new community health assessment and improvement plan is a new state regulatory change where health departments are expected to lead this process as opposed to the hospitals. So we'll be implementing that. You guys have probably heard about this several times already today. The CalAIM, this is primarily in the jail. So we have a committee formed since July of last year to implement CalAIM and primarily the MAT, the Medicated Assisted Treatment Program that Under Sheriff Wells spoke about earlier. So we're in collaboration there. Coordinate with behavioral health on the BHSA, that interoperability that Director Jones was talking about, we're involved with that with her team. And then work through issues regarding wellness on wheels. The WOW truck has had numerous repair issues. If you guys have been by our office, it's been kind of MIA for a couple months. So just electronic, it's one of those custom-made, custom-built things, and unfortunately, not everything was connected properly, so to speak. So we're hopefully we'll have that back within the next month and be able to get that back up and going. Other than that, one other little thing that has come up within the last 6 weeks or so that I do want to have an emphasis on is illegal food vendors. If you guys are around town, you guys see those canopies getting set up. It's becoming more and more around the county, and so we're looking at potentially also starting a task force with City of Clear Lake, City of Lakeport, potentially community development, to try to find creative ways to kind of put a stop to that, because that's not fair to our permitted food vendors in our county. So once we get through this emergency, that'll turn back to one of our focuses as well moving forward. I think that was the last bit. Okay.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from board members or comments at this point? Not seeing any, so thank you for the presentation.
Board, it's
And
always a pleasure. Thank you.
thank you, and we're going to go ahead and take our lunch break, and we will come back at 1:10 p.m. where we'll start with animal control.